If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them. Let's talk about them. Let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what the Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American health care policy is broken. Well, we know that American health care policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office, but every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American health care is policy that Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American health care policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it. Let's work on it together. But let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do. And the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind, but we're going to see.
Republican and Democratic congressional leaders left a meeting with President Donald Trump with no deal to avert a government shutdown as the deadline fast approaches. Leaders met with Trump on Monday for roughly an hour to negotiate a path forward to avert a partial government shutdown, but it appeared neither side was willing to budge from their position. Vice President J.D. Vance said after the meeting, "I think we're headed into a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind." If you look at the original they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying the American people want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars, to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills, Vance said. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. Democrats, however, have pushed back on assertions that they're looking to salvage health care for anyone but the American people. There was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders. But significant and meaningful differences remain, Jeffries said. Democrats are fighting to protect the health care of the American people, and we are not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday America, period. Congress has until midnight October 1st to pass a short-term funding extension, or continuing resolution, CR, to avert a partial government shutdown. The House already passed a funding extension, but the bill was blocked in the Senate earlier this month. Republicans and the White House want to move forward with their clean, short-term funding extension until November 21st, while Democrats have offered a counter-proposal that includes a permanent extension of expiring Obamacare tax credits and other wish list items that are a bridge too far for the GOP. Vance appeared alongside Speaker Mike Johnson, R. Louisiana, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, R. South Dakota, and Office of Management and Budget, OMB Director Russ Vought, in a show of Republican unity after the meeting, but made clear both sides are still far apart. Thune, holding up a copy of the funding extension, panned Jeffries and Schumer's accusation that the bill was partisan in nature. Congressional Republicans argue that the House GOP's is everything that Democrats pushed when they controlled the Senate: a clean, short-term extension to November 21st without partisan policy riders or spending, save for millions in new spending for increased security for lawmakers. To me, this is purely a hostage-taking exercise on the part of the Democrats, Thune said. We are willing to sit down and work with them on some of the issues they want to talk about. Whether it's an extension of premium tax credits with reforms, we're happy to have that conversation. But as of right now, this is a hijacking. Neither Schumer nor Jeffries took questions after their remarks, but appeared slightly more optimistic than their GOP counterparts after the meeting concluded. I think for the first time, the president heard our objections and heard why we needed a bipartisan bill, Schumer said. Their bill has not one iota of Democratic input. That is never how we've done this before. Vance said he was highly skeptical that it was Trump's first time hearing the issue and said there was a bipartisan path forward on health care, but Democrats pushed to include an extension of COVID-19 pandemic-era Affordable Care Act extensions in the bill. We want to work across the aisle to make sure that people have access to good health care, he said, but added, "We are not going to let Democrats shut down the government and take a hostage unless we give them everything that they want. That's not how the people's government has ever worked." The meeting in the Oval Office comes after Trump canceled a previously scheduled confab last week with just Schumer and Jeffries. At the time, the president railed against their demands on his social media platform Truth Social and contended that congressional Democrats were pushing radical left policies that nobody voted for in their counter-CR. Democrats' demands center on an extension to expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies, though their counter-proposal also included language to repeal the healthcare section of the GOP's Big Beautiful Bill and a clawback of canceled NPR and PBS funding. Senate Republicans have argued that Democrats' desires are unserious, and Thune has publicly said that Republicans would be willing to have discussions on the ACA subsidies, which are set to sunset at the end of this year after the government is funded. Schumer insisted Democrats needed it addressed immediately, however, in a press conference back on Capitol Hill after the meeting. "We think when they say later, they mean never. We have to do it now, first because of the timing issue, and second, because now is the time we can get it done," he said. The White House is also leveraging the threat of mass firings, should the government shut down, that go beyond the standard furloughing of non-essential employees. Still, Schumer and Senate Democrats have not buckled. The Senate is expected to vote again on the bill on Tuesday.